bringing the interior warrior back to life. The initiator offers the sword only after the young man's heart has been touched by the lover's privacy and the lover's dance. The warrior inside American men have become weakened in recent years, and their weakness contributes to a lack of boundaries, a condition which earlier in this book we spoke of as naivete. Whenever a parent ignores the child's sovereignty, the child feels not only anger but shame. The child concludes that if it has no sovereignty, it must be worthless. Shame is the name we give to the sense that we are unworthy and inadequate as human beings. It's likely that the early death of a man's masculinity keeps the boy in him from growing up. It's also possible that it prevents the feminine in the boy from developing. Roman culture had Jupiter in the king area, Mars in the warrior area, and Quirinus in the agricultural area. Ancient Greeks culture had Zeus and Hera in the king and queen area, Ares in the warrior area, and Dionysus and Arachne in the farmer and wine grower area. Then Northern Europe also had Odin in the queen area, the warriors had Thor, and the farmers had Frey and Freya. This agricultural vision sees abundance in men and goods, nourishment, health, peace, and sensual gratification. The royal vision from the king and queen's eyes sees sovereignty, political parenthood, royalty, the sacred, and how to administer it. And the warrior vision, the warrior's eyes see combat and the use of force in combat. The outward warriors inside some women are strong today, sometimes stronger than those in men. Forces in contemporary society recently have encouraged women to be warriors, while discouraging warriorhood in boys and men. The sacred warrior has a blessed side and a poisoned side. It is no surprise then, if earthly warriors have a sacred and twisted side, one man is a self-sacrificing warrior fighting for a cause beyond himself. Another man is a madman soldier, raping, pillaging, killing mindlessly, dropping napalm over entire villages. Be wary of the self-sacrificing warrior. The holy warrior invades us from internal space as a hurricane energy and a whirlwind force. The warrior power, nourished on the electric and impulses, shines through the screen of skin and bones and makes the body do what the power wants. We can say then that knowledge of what warriorhood is and how to heal with its dark side and how to admire its positive side has been lost. Simultaneously, the warrior himself, or our image of him, has suffered a collapse in all three worlds. Here's a story. A Russian woman from Kiev, whose generation of women have lived many years without men their own age, said to me, quote, "All the young men who were left after the battle for Kiev went to Moscow to defend it. Not one came back." She went on, quote, "Know that women in the United States are angry with the men because they are too aggressive," and so on. We don't feel that way. If the Russian men had not had great aggression in them, the Germans would be in Moscow right now. The matter of aggression looks different if you have been invaded. The disciplined warrior made irrelevant by mechanized war, disdained and abandoned by the high-tech culture, is fading in American men. The fading of the warrior contributes to the collapse of civilized society. A man who cannot defend his own space cannot defend women and children. The poisoned warriors called drug lords prey primarily for recruits on kingless, warriorless boys. None of us knows at 12 how to heal our horse of shame. The story suggests that a boy's horse needs to be brought to an older man or to a mentor, or lifting the scene to the imaginative level. It needs to be brought to the wild man. The man who was literally unable to extend his arm if his hand was closed around a sword, even a wooden one. The collapse of the warrior means that the sword is thrown away. I've met many good men since who say that if someone gave them a sword, they will break it or stick it into the earth and walk away. We know that more than one American man today needs a sword to cut his adult soul away from his mother-bound soul. Man and wife might say which weapons he or she plans to use in a particular fight coming up, during which preliminary conversations the man's warrior and the woman's warrior are welcomed in the house and honored. A good fight gets things clear. And I think women long to fight and be with men who know how to fight well. As fathers lose touch with the warrior, fewer fathers give any modeling beyond the copper bridge when faced with female anger. Quote, "My father never stood up to my mother and I'm still angry about that." End quote. Hundreds of men have spoken that sentence at gatherings. Sometimes all that would have been necessary would have been for the father to stand up for his boundaries or for the limits of verbal abuse and simply say firmly, "Enough." If the father cannot set limits to the mother's raging, nor the mother to the father's loss of temper, the children turn into copper wires. One can feel the resonance between opposites in flamenco dancing. Defender and attacker watch each other, attractor and refuser, women and men, red and red. Each is a pole with a separate magnetic charge. Each is a nation defending its borders. Each is a warrior enjoying the heat of extravagant passion. A distinguished passion which is fierce, eagle-like, and mysterious. A poem from Robert Bly. All men live in suffering. I know as few can know, whether they take the upper road or stay content on the low. Rower bent in his rowboat, or weaver bent at his loom. Suffering here means the difficult task accepted for the sake of your desire, but also the painful awareness of other roads not taken. Protecting the inner house implies replacing some of the copper with iron. Talking about reality is a good way to bring in the iron. If a person never lifts his sword, he or she may get high marks for gentleness, but may end up as a slave to the suitors.